Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome back to this week's episode of Podiatry Marketing. With me, as usual, every week, my good friend, Big Jim Mack, aka Jim McDannald. How you doing, Jim? Jim? How you doing, Jim?
Things are good, Tyson. Things are good.
Almost called you Jam. I don't know why.
I've been called worse things, so it's no worries.
Okay, how have you been since last week?
Things are good. Just enjoying the winter here in Oregon. No, it's no complaints.
Okay, well, I'm back from the UK. Had a fantastic trip. It was unbelievable. I'll tell you more about it on another episode because there's going to be a few things there that will be worth sharing.
I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be great.
So, what are we talking about today?
So today we're going to jump onto a topic that I got to know I became very familiar with right when I got back from the holiday break, and that is what to do if your Google business profile gets suspended.
Ooh. I like. I can just imagine that actually happening, and I don't think it'd be good.
No, you definitely want to stay in the good graces of Google. It's definitely going to have a hugely negative impact on your visibility. So when you get that email from Google saying that your Google business profile is suspended, and it wasn't mine, it was actually a client that I was working with, and we'll get into some of those details about why it happened. But
Yeah,
one of my clients had this issue pop up, and yeah, there's just a lot of stuff you have to be aware of because obviously, any loss of visibility, having a suspended listing is going to really impact your visibility for prospective patients, right? So, it really cuts off a huge potential traffic source, and it can be something that you definitely need to get on as soon as possible because it can definitely have an impact. Not only that, but the kind of the online credibility as well. Like if you're just not showing up, right? They might
yeah,
be confused, or people that are looking for you and can't find you. They're like, why isn't your website showing up on Google anymore?
yeah. Well, I suppose it's one of those things. Like, I won't ask why straight away because I'm sure you're going to explain why, and you probably want to lead up to that. But I'm hoping it's not like when Facebook suspends you for just no reason or anything like that. So I'm hoping there's a little bit more detail to it, and that the person did actually make a mistake.
No, it's actually there was a mistake made, but it wasn't by the owner of the practice. But we'll get into that. But
Yeah,
like we talked about on previous shows, the Google Business Profile is one of the most important aspects of your practice because it's almost like a little mini website, right? So
yeah.
you probably heard on previous episodes when we've talked about it. This for the audience, if this is your first time hearing about it, definitely go back and listen to some of our previous episodes because we won't go into all those details with Google Business Profile. But it is one of those things where if you don't have it, it's a huge, kind of negative impact on kind of your ability to acquire patients. So, kind of going over, what are some common reasons for the Google Business Profile to be suspended in the first place?
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be because someone either hacks into your account, or maybe you had a previous agency or previous person working on your website that they got phished, or some way your login and password for your Google, or maybe you got phished. Basically, this is what happened with my client, is that somehow to gain access both to their Google business profile and to their Google Ads account, and there was enough kind of strange things going on in both those accounts that
Mm,
Google saw that it has enough kind of smart, I don't know, it's machine learning or something within the system, that if someone's trying to do like $2 or $3,000 a month of Google ads, that's kind of out of the norm, and there's a bunch of other accounts that are logging in maybe from addresses that haven't logged in before, and we're talking about an IP address, which kind of tells what device or where you are at in the world. So that's kind of what happened with my client. Both these accounts got basically suspended, like right at the beginning of the year, because someone had hacked in somehow, and wreaked a little bit of havoc in my client's account.
yeah. Well, I don't know the episode numbers, but I do recommend everyone goes back to listens to the things about the Google Business Profile because even the client I was talking to recently, and when I was asking them, I was inquiring about it. I went online and had a look at their profile, and nothing had been added to it or updated for ages. And I actually brought it to their attention, and all of a sudden they realized, oh God, it was a past employee who set that up. They have the password. They have all the details. Oh, and by the way, they hate us. So hopefully they get everything sorted out before this episode comes out, because I don't want the past employee to actually listen to this and think, oh, I can do malicious damage. But that's what can happen if somebody else has access to your business profile and you don't control it anymore.
No, it's hugely important to know what your password is and to have the login and the password in a secure place to make sure that, this kind of stuff doesn't happen, because like it can take a while. We'll get into that. It can take a while for it to kind of come back online, even if you have to sometimes prove who you are. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
and
So
other-
what are the common reasons? What are the most common reasons that this would happen?
Sure. So the most common reason is that there's certain Google has certain guidelines as far as what you're able to put, into the kind of the business name, or the information that you display there. Generally, for your clinic, it has to be the exact business name of your clinic. So you can't put in like, let's say it's like let's say you call yourself like Springfield Foot and Ankle Associates. Well, you can't like go in there and put podiatry clinic and podiatrists and add a bunch of different things. That we would call keyword stuffing. If you're just trying to put every word associated with podiatry into something that's, really should be only your basically your business name in that, your legal
Yeah.
business name in there. That's one of the most common ones that you'll see. Also, either by mistake or sometimes if people are just being a little bit overly aggressive, any kind of duplicate listings, if there's multiple profiles for your clinic, that can trigger
Okay.
trigger red flags. Sometimes you'll see these happen. Sometimes patients will, or someone will make you an extra one accidentally when they were trying to leave you a review. So that's something that can kind of pop up. And know that, you are able to have a kind of a business listing on Google Business Profile for your clinic. And then every kind of podiatrist that works out there can have a separate kind of a provider listing as well. But you've got to be careful about making sure that those aren't, duplicated. You don't put, 3 different Google business listings for your singular clinic. That's a really, really important factor.
Did you say a patient could set one up for you?
Well, yeah, sometimes there's actually ways that people can create Google business profiles. It's not like, sometimes they're able to, people are able to set those up. And they're not always verified, but you'll see kind of duplicate listings sometimes crop up because patients or some people have created them kind of without your permission. But that's something that Google, at least in the previously allowed.
Okay, but wouldn't Google know? Like, so if I wanted to if there was a business owner who didn't have a profile, but I wanted to leave a review, and they don't have a profile, wouldn't that Google know it's me that's logged on?
But maybe they messed up on the address, or maybe the address doesn't match exactly. So, basically Google will also let you make recommendations to different profiles. Like, is that address maybe you can suggest a correction or suggest a change.
Yeah.
Maybe the address wasn't exact or the phone number was off. You can make suggestions, but you can also, like I said, sometimes even make like unverified other Google Business Profile listings as well. And sometimes Google, for whatever reason, they don't seem to be so great about finding these duplicates.
Okay. So what else? So you've got the guideline violation. You've got duplicate listings. What else?
Yeah, sometimes just making a significant amount of changes to your Google profile can really send a kind of a red flag to Google. Maybe if you're changing the business name, you're changing the phone number, you're changing a lot of stuff on there. Maybe you are changing your location, that would be normal, but Google may ask you to reauthorize or re-verify.
Okay.
Like I said, this is kind of, if someone's trying to take over, they could think that, oh, is this, just to be on the safe side, sometimes they'll freeze or pause an account because, all this stuff happened in a short period of time. Maybe it's from a computer that wasn't recognized by Google. Like I said, you have these IP addresses. Maybe, 100% of the changes previously had come from 2 different IP addresses, and now there's like a different one that they don't recognize making all of these changes. So there are some ways that Google tries to preemptively protect Google Business Profiles, but it can be.
I have noticed that when I've traveled and I've gone to log in, and even though I've got my laptop with me, you're not thinking anything of it, but I might be in a different location, different country, and I'll get a message from Google almost immediately saying, is this you trying to log in from this address? And at the same time, I go, I think it was me.
I hope
I
so.
just, I hope it was me. I hope there isn't someone who's hacking at the same time. So I just go, yes, it was me. It's all good.
Yeah. And a lot of times they'll also, if you have like Gmail, or if you have Google installed, some of the apps on your phone, sometimes you'll get that kind of two-factor authentication where it'll say, okay,
Yeah.
open up the Gmail app, open up the Google Ads app or whatever, and you just have to kind of like do this kind of two-factor authentication. And that sometimes can help give information to Google to make sure that they know that it's you. Last but not least is user complaints. Sometimes, people are very competitive, and sometimes with AI image generation and those things, people can kind of, and I heard stories that's not in podiatry necessarily, but in like the dog grooming business where, there's like a mobile dog groomer, then on the
Yeah.
the photos on Google Business Profile, it's like they show a branded van, they show people with branded T-shirts, and it looks very professional. And then all of a sudden, someone shows up at their front door and an unmarked van. The person doesn't look very professional. They're running late. So they will sometimes listen about user complaints saying like, it didn't feel like this was legitimately this company, right? So there, if you can make, like I said, you can review and send Google, recommendations about it, but you can also kind of flag and say, hey, it can lead to kind of a manual review of a business if it doesn't seem like it's either legitimate or it feels like some kind of odd bait and switch situation might be going on.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, because what is Google trying to protect the fact that somebody might just be taking stock images, putting them together to make their business look better than what it is.
No, absolutely.
And when someone puts a complaint in, Google looks at those photos and goes, "Oh, this is not you. Boom, you're out. You're gone."
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's becoming more prevalent these days.
Okay, so if it does happen, and there's probably other reasons why it could happen, but if it does happen, what should you do about it?
Yeah, so there's different ways to fix the problem, right? So the first way is to kind of identify kind of what the root cause is, like kind of review with you and maybe your staff or the person that's doing your marketing, like, have we made any changes over the last, I don't know, usually it's pretty quick. I mean, but let's say over the last seven
So Google,
days.
Google won't send you a message and go, "Hey, we're suspending you for 2 weeks or for a month until
Well,
we investigate something."
Well, sometimes you'll get like a trigger thing to say, "Hey, your Google Business Profile account is suspended," but it doesn't necessarily give you the reasoning why.
Okay.
Like for example, with the client that I was working with, like it wasn't clear to me, what had happened. If she had maybe made some changes, I work remotely. We were just getting back from the holidays. Was there something that she saw that on her Google Business Profile she wanted to do, and since she hadn't done it, was that a red flag? Was there someone on her staff that had messed around with it? Had we, added some kind of keyword stuffing to things? I was concerned that maybe, look inward first to see like,
Yeah.
'cause I hadn't, touched that account during the holidays. So it was kind of odd to me that all of a sudden the first day back that we're having these issues. But it got a little to me like, okay, not only is our Google business profile suspended, but also our Google ads are. So we took a little time. And the nice thing about Google, especially with Google ads, you can kind of see all the changes that were made in an account. It just shows you like on that, basically there's a section within Google Ads where you can see, this time, this day, the person, this login made this account change. And there were some very glaring things there. So you basically kind of, the first step is to try to help identify the root cause, whether it's you or the marketing folks you're working with. Also, you can reach out to Google. There's going to be, maybe some additional information in that email they send that might give you a general sense of
Yeah.
what's happening, and then further reaching out to them. And I feel like it's getting harder and harder to actually contact them. It used to be a phone call or a chat bot used to be able to contact them. Now it's more like emails, which isn't necessarily that helpful because you're kind of sitting around on your twiddling your thumbs while trying to figure out how to get this up and going. But the first step is really to identify the root cause, and then like I said, kind of start the ball rolling, as far as gathering information about what it is, they're with you and your team, or reaching out to Google.
Okay. And if you do, is there like a list of an order of violations that you actually check?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's different violations, like I said, like, maybe, if there's been changes to the business name, you wanted to kind of ensure that the address is yours, when probably one of the things that people, if they want to break into your Google Business Profile, is what they'd want to do is to try to use that link or the phone number, in your email to maybe kind of like, for podiatry clinic, it's probably less prevalent, but they
Yeah.
continue to nefarious malware sites or something like that with the link that's in your Google Business profile. So if it's someone that's, you're never going to get another podiatry clinic that's going to, break into you and try to like send patients to them. No, but it might be, like I said, it might be malware. It might be some kind of, virus, computer virus or something, to trying to get people to go to this website for some reason. So those are probably the two areas to check first. But just trying to get that communication with Google is really, really helpful, because if you're not sophisticated, you don't really know where to look at in your Google business profile, it can be it can be difficult for a clinic owner to really know where to look and what to do. So working with your marketing help, but also having that open line of communication, even though it's kind of slow and annoying with Gmail or with email. That's usually the best way to kind of move forward to, and then correcting, once you can find out from them what the issue is, going in and, working with them. Sometimes they're going to ask for, screenshots or additional information. They obviously want to make sure that you are associated with the business. So sometimes they're
Yeah.
going to ask for your business license or your medical license, your podiatry license. So there might be additional documentation you need to gather. And when it comes to Google Business Profile, and even with Google Ads, you want to make sure that give yourself, like, once they say, okay, can you give us this documentation, make sure you send, it can be a bit like an electric bill, but all enough information where they feel like they know that it's you, because they don't, the last thing they want to do is, reinstate your account if someone still has control of it. So it's a really, really important factor there. But yeah, then the next step is really to, look around and see if there are duplicates. If you're still unsure, you're still waiting for Google to get back to you, you can look and see if there's been duplicate
And when you're saying
listings.
a duplicate, could it be you were in one location, you moved to another place, and you just set up a new Google business profile, not realizing you could have just edited the original one.
Yeah, it could be
And if you've moved a couple of times, you could have 3 different locations.
it could be you. It could be maybe, you gave this job to your staff and then two members of your staff accidentally did it.
Yeah.
Or it could be, for some reason you got away from whether you knowing you had a Google business profile or not, and you make one 5 or 6 years later, kind of confused that, or you changed your business name. So there's a lot of different reasons why these duplicates will exist. So it's a matter of just like, okay, what has my clinic been called over the last, since I've been in practice? Have you, added additional podiatrists to the practice, these kind of practitioner listings, but just making sure that whatever the account is being suspended, that you do a little bit of due diligence when it comes to removing those duplicates.
Okay. And then once you figure out the problem and you make the changes, will Google just turn it straight back on, or have you got to do something else?
Yeah, so generally, like the next, like the last step is kind of submitting, and this is, like I said, once you get enough information from Google, maybe you filled out some different forms. There's usually a submit kind of reinstatement request. After you have gathered all the documentation that is you and Google have kind of figured out what it is. You can kind of request this reinstatement, and it can take a little while though. It's the timelines are kind of different, and for a while, I think Google was pretty understaffed. I'd heard other marketers talk about it taking somewhere between 3 to 4 weeks sometimes for Google Business Profile to kind
Mm.
of resurface. We were lucky in this case. We gave them a lot of information. I think it also helped that it was tied into the Google Business or the Google Ads account kind of being taken over. So they were pretty quickly. We got it done in about, I think it was 2.5 days for them to
Oh, that's good.
reinstate it. But it can be much, much longer. It can be up to weeks for some people, because, like I said, sometimes Google has a backlog. I think maybe it helped that it happened right after the holidays. Maybe there wasn't a lot of fraud going on during the holidays. So I don't know. Maybe we got lucky in that way, but it was very, very helpful. Like I said, make sure you have enough verification. You have, because they're going to ask for the documents about, like I said, your medical license, your proof of address, your business license. Those things are super important. And there's different ways, that when it's very clear that someone had tried to take over both of these accounts, they're going to probably reinstate you more quickly. If you're the one that's at fault, because people can be at fault themselves by, like I said, putting a bunch of keywords in there, doing things that are a little bit, we kind of call like black hat when it comes to
Yeah.
Google Business Profile. If you're kind of, crossing the line a little bit yourself, that's something that maybe they'll be a little slower to reinstate you.
Yeah, because I know I had not run in so much with Google, but a little bit of a concern. But this only because of like YouTube account, because it's attached. And it's the same thing. I've got money sitting there that they want to pay me, but we keep going backwards and forwards. And like you said, it's hard to actually talk to anybody or get some information where you've got to fill in, like, say, tax information. And you give them everything and they go, thank you. And then they still don't do it. And they go, we need more information, but they don't tell you what you need. You just need to fix this. Which parts do I need to fix? So sometimes it does it. It's a lot of backwards and forwards.
No, it's gonna be really frustrating. It's kind of a black box there at Google. We've talked about that a lot, about the way you set up Google Ads and the way you run ads, but even just trying to get a straight answer from anybody at
Yeah.
Google can be a very, very frustrating thing. And trying to, it's basically have to be very diligent. I think checking in with the Google team and sending multiple emails. It can be one way of doing it, especially if you have someone that does your marketing for you. Luckily, she was busy in clinic while I was, trying to hit up the phones and trying to send, emails on a pretty significant,
Yeah.
over a period of time, not to the point where it's, crazy annoying for them, but at the same time, I'll let them know that this still is not resolved. We've done what you asked, so it's one of those things where you have to be diligent about getting after them, because otherwise, they're not always the best at following up.
And it's not always like when they have suspensions, just one full-on suspension, or will they limit your access sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think if it's tuned affairs, they might just completely not let you have access at all, and you have to basically get it totally unlocked. Luckily with ours, like I said, it was pretty clear, so they gave us the opportunity to like just review both our Google Ads account, and I didn't require kind of like an in-depth kind of audit or a review that just internally from their team, because we were kind of working together in that way. So if
Yeah.
possible, you want to make sure that you're sending good information to Google, and then they're going to be much more receptive, because if you're giving them good information, they can kind of resolve it more quickly. I think they really want to do that. They want to resolve these cases as quickly as possible. But if you're unable to help them, or the person you're just doing your marketing can't really provide them helpful information, it requires a lot more time on their side, and then thus that requires you to be your profile to be down a lot longer.
So once you went through this process, you got it all up and running again, are there certain things that you had to tell your client to make sure it doesn't happen again? So in the future, they don't get suspended?
Yeah, I think it's important for anybody that sets up Google business profiles to kind of have kind of some right ways to go about doing it. There's certain standard operating procedures when you're doing things with Google business profile to make sure that you don't accidentally trigger one of these suspensions, or for you to lose visibility with your business profile. That includes, number one, setting up an accurate and consistent, basically NAP, or that's your name, your address, and your phone. You want to make sure that that is kind of clear throughout the internet, not only on Google, but you want to make sure that that is, you use those same things to describe your business, your address, and your phone, to make sure that it looks legitimate across all the different online properties, not first and foremost. Um,
Yeah.
Also, it helps to know kind of what Google's rules are. I don't expect every podiatrist to go in there and look at the Google guidelines for a business profile, but definitely the people that are doing your marketing should know and understand what's allowed and not allowed. So making sure that you're in good contact, and you have faith in the person that's providing your marketing services, to make sure that they're not doing anything that's going to run afoul of those Google guidelines, because otherwise it's a pretty quick way to get your business profile suspended. Um,
Well, some marketing companies that you work with, like I'm sure there's some marketing companies that all they want to do is try and get results for you, and they're prepared to bend or break the rules to actually get those results for you, so they can show that, hey, look how good we are, but long term they could be damaging.
no, exactly. It's a short-term tactic that Google's going to
Yeah.
catch on in the long term. And, those days or weeks that you lose visibility for your Google business profile is kind
So all
of,
those emails that you get that say, hey, we can get you 10,000 new followers, just, yeah, if you work with us, stay away.
yeah, it's, if it sounds like it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, I probably get Probably only about half a dozen a week now. Every time I put a video on YouTube, bang, I just get inundated from Bangladesh and India. Just telling me, hey, we can do this. I think, if I put them all together, I'll have 10 million people subscribe to my channel within 2 weeks. It's incredible. So what else before we finish up?
Yeah, so you want to make sure that you're monitoring the edits and reviews that happen, on your Google Business profile. There's different services that either for example, you can like $1 a month where you can kind of you can see any change that happens to these profiles, and whether it's you or the business or the marketing provider that you're working with, you really need to make sure that you're continuing to monitor what's going on in your Google Business profiles, basically staying proactive, right? It's one of these reasons why your website, your Google Ads, your Google Business profile, these are not set it and forget it kind of situations. You need to have someone that's proactively reviewing and maintaining your Google Business profile to kind of avoid, the potential of either getting a suspension for the first time or getting repeat suspensions. It's something that can really, once you have it happen once, it should never happen again.
Yeah, and I think what you just said then about it's not a set and forget type thing. And I think that is what's happened with people in the past. They've set it up maybe with the practice manager or another team member. They've set it up. They've had the other person finish it off, and maybe they know what the passwords are and everything, and then that person leaves. And it's just been sitting there for years doing absolutely nothing. And I have a look at a lot of podiatry Google Business profiles. I'm always looking at other podiatrists, what they've got up there. And it's surprising how many are just not touching it. It's just sitting there. And I know they've moved and the information is wrong.
Yeah, that's a huge liability for your clinic. Not only are you losing, the visibility of the clinic, but also, if the address is wrong, the phone number is wrong, the link to make an appointment is going somewhere else that you don't know where it is going. It's a huge liability and a potential loss of reputation and trust with these prospective patients, which can be devastating to a practice.
So anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think that's a good place to kind of end it here. I think if you haven't listened to some of the basics, we have some previous podcasts you can go back, search through the archive and listen to, and then maybe this one will make either more sense or just feel even more relevant than it was. But try to stay on the right side of Google if you do run into Google Business profile suspensions. Don't hesitate to obviously reach out to your marketing provider and to your staff. But if I can be of any help or provide any guidance, always happy to do so.
Yeah, learn from other people's mistakes and don't make the same mistake yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay, Big Jim, I look forward to talking to you next week.
All right.
Okay, peace out.
Bye, Tyson.
Okay, see ya.